Hi, I'm Tamara Camo, and I'm an OBGYN, and I'm here today to talk to you about aging and pregnancy and how to use essential oils to help you age better during your pregnancy, but also how it can benefit your baby. And I'm actually the author of Menopause Essentials, The Ultimate Guide to Optimal Aging. And I wrote it for my menopausal patients, and I deal with all women of all ages, but mostly women who are having concerns with their aging. So I was giving a talk to them one day, and I asked them, when does aging start? And of course, sort of a trick question, because they'll say, oh, when I went through menopause, or when I was 30, or maybe it starts the day we're born. And I told them, no, it starts the day you're conceived. If you have a mother and she's smoking, she's changing the rate at which you're going to age when you get older. The women during the Irish potato famine, they noticed that their offspring had their genes were altered because of the starvation and the stress and people leaving their homes. So things that happen during your pregnancy impact how your baby is going to age. So of course, exercise and remaining stress-free and proper nutrition are all important. But I also advocate the use of some essential oils to help you with some of the issues. Some people just think, oh, when I'm pregnant, I'm going to tough it out and not take anything. But sometimes you might want to take something to help you, because the stress of toughing it out doesn't necessarily benefit your baby. So let's get to my slides. And then we will just start here. All right. So essential oils, aging, and pregnancy. I've already introduced myself. My book is available on Growing Healthy Homes and Amazon. You have a mother, so she might need it, even if you don't. I started doing things about my aging when I was about 35. But of course, if you're watching this about how to help your baby age better, it might be something you want to get a jump start on, especially if you're an older mom. Aging begins in utero. So in a study using rats to model pregnancy and fetal development, researchers found that providing mothers with antioxidants during pregnancy meant that their offspring aged more slowly in adulthood. So that just goes to show that a lot of things you can take and you can do can help. And just taking a prenatal vitamin, so as a side note, years ago, over a decade ago, I wrote a book about pregnancy and how your prenatal vitamin may not be enough, the ultimate guide to optimal nutrition. So I've been studying nutrition and pregnancy and different things for over a decade. So some of the things you want to do, of course, eating healthy, drink plenty of water, don't be dehydrated. The baby is sitting in a lot of water, and how much you drink affects that. Decrease your chemical exposure. We'll discuss how you can use essential oils to replace some of your products. The average woman puts on 168 chemicals every morning before she goes to work. So we'll figure out how to switch some of those products. When they look at the umbilical cord blood and measure the chemicals in the baby, all of them get to the baby. Very few babies are born with no chemicals, not just heavy metals and other bad things, but ingredients that are specifically found in our cosmetics, like phthalates and parabens and formaldehyde. Whenever you see something that just says fragrance, if they're not naming the exact nature of the fragrance, frequently that's formaldehyde, because formaldehyde is a fragrance. And formaldehyde is what we use to embalm people, and you don't want your baby to be exposed to that. So really look at your cosmetics, look at things that say fragrance, and try to use essential oils for that. Make sure you exercise or just get moving, get plenty of sleep. Pregnant women have issues sleeping. We'll discuss some different strategies that are natural that can help you optimize your sleep, because that's good for the baby. And reduce stress. It's easy to just say, hey, don't be stressed, but a lot of people need help at not being stressed. And there are some essential oils that have been studied to lower cortisol and even have been studied on pregnant women to help with stress. And we will review those things. So quickly, for those of you who don't already know what essential oils are plants. They're plant juice. Like you've eaten oregano before. Well, there's an oil for that. You can extract certain things from oregano and make oil. You've had lavender before. You can make lavender oil. You've had lemon. From the peel, you can make an oil. So from different parts of plants, some plants have the best oil source in their seeds. Some it's their stems, some it's their roots. So they find the best way to get the oil out, and different plants can provide us with oils, which are much more concentrated forms than the full form of the plant. For example, it takes a lot of the plant to make the tiniest bit of oil, but if you have a drop of rose oil, that's like more than a dozen roses in one drop. One drop of lavender oil is very strong. I tried to make lavender lemonade once and I put one drop of oil in it. And even that made some very strong, flowery tasting lemonade. You have to use much less than that. I needed to dilute it, but just one drop is very strong. Even though lavender is not a very powerful smell, you take one drop of that oil, it's very concentrated. Jasmine, it takes 8 million hand-picked blossoms to produce a couple of pounds of oil. And some oils come out of trees. It takes years to grow them. So oils are not that easy to get. If you see an oil that is not very expensive, it's probably diluted or not pure, because it's expensive to use this many roses or this much jasmine, or wait for a sandalwood tree to grow for 30 years in order to get pure oil that you're not using toxic chemicals to extract what you want. So good oils that we're talking about aging. So we don't want oils that have half gasoline, half oil. We want pure oil. Oils support your body. They have been studied for so many different things: skeletal health, endocrine health, immune health, brain health, emotional health. They've been studied for a lot of different things. So they have many applications. Even one oil can do several of these systems or several of these different things. So how do you apply oils? When I tell patients to use essential oils, that's the first thing they ask me is, well, what do I do? And, oh, maybe I'll do it wrong. And what's happening? And it doesn't really matter. In most of the studies I'm going to present to you, they're either using it by diffusing it, or they're giving it to people just to smell straight from the bottle, or they might dilute it and use it as a massage. So almost every study, they're doing one of those three things. And you might read a lot about, oh, put it in this point or that point, or put it on your head. And it doesn't actually, it's going to get to you no matter what. So the people in England like to apply them topically. That's their thing. In France, they're a culture that their oils are so pure that they will eat them. All oils you cannot eat. If you go to the average drugstore or wherever you normally have seen oils when you're going shopping, they'll specifically say, do not ingest, because it's not pure. You have to have a pure oil in order to tell someone they can eat it. It can't be mixed with something unknown or unfavorable or inedible. The Germans mostly use their oils and diffuse them. And no way is right or wrong, because no matter how you put the oil in your body, it's going to run around and find the receptor that it wants to go to. When you inhale the oil, tests have shown that it gets to certain organs in 3 seconds. When they're applied topically, they have been found in the bloodstream in 26 seconds. And very few people need them to get in the body faster than that. So does it matter to me whether it gets to you in 3 seconds or 26 seconds or 2 minutes? Usually it doesn't really matter. So however you apply it, whatever goes with your routine is fine. For example, I use oils that are labeled as edible. So sometimes I will take orange essential oil and add it to my water and drink the water. So therefore I've consumed it like the French do. But I have certain oils that I keep in my bathroom that I put on my face, like frankincense or lavender. I'll add them to whatever face serum I'm using and then apply them all over my face because that I remember to do that. Or if I make a smoothie, maybe I'll put a drop of an oil in the smoothie, and that's my other habit. So, I use oils depending on how I feel. I can incorporate them into my daily routine without having to think about a long, complicated routine. So how long do they last? Once the oil enters your body, they usually aren't present anymore in about 6 hours. Oils have been around for a long time. You might have just heard about them. They might be new to you, but they've been around since 1500 years before Christ. The Egyptians were known to use them. Cleopatra bathed in rose petals. There are recipes and remedies. I mean, for years, hundreds of years, that was what they used as medicine. When they were anointing Jesus Christ, that's what they were diluting essential oils in oil and rubbing it on his feet. It has been around for a long time. So, they brought it to baby Jesus. They carried frankincense and myrrh to Jesus, and gold, which we don't use as an oil. Oils are mentioned 1,100 times in the scripture. And many of the studies that I'm going to present are going to be from the past 5 years. So even what we knew about oils 10 years ago has grown. So when I first started using oils over 10 years ago, there was much more limited information. And so I pretty much mostly had women using lavender and maybe some citrus oils. But lavender did so many things that even just that, it helped a lot of people. But now there are a few more oils that have been studied in actual pregnant women. There are even more that have been studied in pregnant animals, but it's really valuable when you find one that somebody studied in pregnant women, because then you can assume it's one of the safer oils. So different grades of oils, I've already alluded to this, but some companies make oils that are pure. They don't add any synthetics. They don't mix species and tell you it's one thing and it's really another thing. And they don't dilute them. So some oils might be like, if I tell you it's lavender in the bottle, it might be lavender, but I might have also diluted it with something else. So, right, there's nothing else but lavender, but it's not, one drop isn't the same number of lavender petals as if you had a pure concentrated oil. They've got oils that have been manipulated. So they may add something to make it smell better or strip some of the molecules. There's a lot of different little modifications that can be happening. Also, when you are dealing with authentic oils, you want to make sure that the seeds aren't genetically modified, that they're not putting pesticides, because it might be lavender, but if it's been sprayed so that it lives longer or that you get a better yield, and then I concentrate that oil, I've also concentrated pesticides into my product, and I don't want to do that. So perfume oils are not pure. They're mixed with synthetic oils to make them smell better. So, if you have something that smells like lavender, even if you like it, it might not be giving us the cellular benefits that we're actually trying to capture. And synthetic oils aren't true oils at all. They might not smell like the original plant, and they're labeled as scented product. So we're not using that in our discussion either. We want authentic oil. I want lavender that was squished from the lavender plant, nothing else, not diluted, unless you dilute it yourself. You want to know, you want control over how dilute you make it. So why do companies sell cheap oils? Why do all of these exist? Because if you spray your crop with pesticides, you have more crop to distill. If you use a chemical solvent to extract the oil, you get more out. If you're diluted with a cheaper oil or a carrier oil, you stretch the oil you have distilled. So I'm going to show you a video. I have to confess that I'm a hoarder. This is my bag of all of the different essential oil brands that I have tried. Not every essential oil, because there are many, many more. But this is one bottle of every different brand I've ever tried. So sometimes I tell people to, that I want them to start using essential oils for relaxation or some particular purpose. And they're like, oh, I'll just go to the store and find some oil. And I tell them, no, the oils at the store say for, aromatic use only, don't put them on your skin or don't eat them. And I like oils that are pure. So it took me a long time to look at every single brand and figure out which ones were good and which ones are bad. That is the gist of what my video said. I used a lot of different oils. Like I said, I started using oils over a decade ago. And while I was practicing OBGYN, now I'm still an OBGYN, but I don't deliver babies anymore. I focus on aging and hormones. But at the time I was, doing some online studying. I got a master's in holistic nutrition. I got a naturopathic medical degree. While I was getting my naturopathic medical degree, I had to take an aromatherapy class. So I had to buy a set of oils. I got like 6 or 8 oils in some kit, and I had to make different things. And I had all these oils left over, and I started playing with them. And then I might one day say, oh, I want another oil. And I'd go online and find another oil. And then I'd say, oh, that one, I don't have that. And I'd buy another oil, or I travel to England and see an oil at the store. And I'm like, I don't have that one. So I ended up collecting all of these different bottles of oil. And I quickly realized that they're not all the same. All oranges don't smell alike. All lavenders don't smell alike. Some have a weird smell that I know is not like lavender. I have a frankincense that smells like gasoline, and frankincense does not smell like gasoline. I went to a store, very popular kind of healthy store that a lot of people go to, and they had rosemary and tea tree, and I bought both of them, and they smelled exactly alike. I cannot tell them apart. But real rosemary and real tea tree, I can definitely, I can tell the difference. But with this other company, you couldn't tell the difference. So something's weird. So I know that when you're buying certain companies, you are not getting the same benefits that if you actually found one that was pure. So the other thing is, a lot of products that we use on our body every day have the word fragrance in them, which could be formaldehyde. So when you're pregnant, now is the time, or probably before you get pregnant, technically months before you get pregnant, in a perfect world, you would have already looked at all of the products that you expose yourself to, products that you clean with, your lotions, your lipsticks, the things you put in your eye, the things you put on your mouth, in your mouth, and you would have gotten rid of a lot of different chemicals and allergens and words that you cannot pronounce, so that your body could start to try to eliminate them before you get pregnant. Because the day you get pregnant, the baby starts absorbing everything, your food, your vitamins, everything good, but also a lot of the things that are bad don't get filtered out. So ideally, prior to getting pregnant, we would have changed a lot. But now that you're pregnant, you can still go and start switching some of your products. Do we have to put lotion on? Can we put coconut oil on, or some sort of natural oil that doesn't have all of those chemicals that are in very popular body products? Or your lipstick. Lipstick frequently has petroleum jelly. Lipstick and chapstick both have petroleum jelly. Maybe you don't want to swallow an oil byproduct. Maybe you want a coconut oil based lipstick. Maybe you want to rethink of, the chemicals you put on your skin. Do you want to wear makeup? Do you want to wear deodorant? Can you find a natural deodorant? Can you make your own deodorant? The average woman applies, I've seen 160, I've seen 300, but we apply more than 100 chemicals per day to our body through the soap and body wash and makeup and shampoo and stuff we put on our hair. So, and this is every single day. And it takes years for these chemicals to get out of our body. So, first of all, we're born with them, right? This is the purpose of the talk. We're born with these chemicals and then we add more. So find a product that has one ingredient and it is time to ditch and switch. All right, so pregnancy and oils. So how many women use essential oils? So they did a study and they think that about 15% of pregnant women have used essential oils. Some aromatherapy oils are known to be unsafe. There are some that are very strong and very hot. And, if you would normally eat 10 pounds of basil, then using a drop of basil essential oil, which is very concentrated on a routine basis, might not be what you want to do. You want to eat sort of normal amounts of things. So oils are so concentrated, you have to be careful to dilute them. Some you just are going to avoid altogether. Some you're going to learn to dilute. So there's, like I said, I'm going to present some research, but of the 100 oils that I probably own, there's been research on 10. So we will go through that. And there's the study below. So according to the International Federation of Professional Aromatherapists, during pregnancy, use recommended oils at 1% dilution. So that means if you have an ounce of carrier oil, you're going to put 5 or 6 drops of oil. You're going to use it for a short time. You might diffuse it. You could put a few drops in your bath or create a very dilute massage oil to use them. So here's a dilution chart, just so you'll know what dilution means. Now, for example, I make a lot of 10 milliliter roller bottles. And normally I'm pretty aggressive and I'll put 10 drops of oil. So somewhere between 3 and 10%. I put 10 drops of oil just for me, normal me. Oh, I'm not pregnant. So I can use 10 or 20 drops if I want to. However, a pregnant woman who's supposed to do 1% is going to put 2 drops in this 10 milliliter roller bottle. So let's say I have a lot of 5 milliliter bottles around my house because some of the oils that I use come in 5 mils. So if I had one of those bottles and it was empty and I added a carrier oil to it, I would add 1 drop of oil back to that bottle to make the 1%. Some of the bottles I have are 15 milliliters. And for that one, if I put carrier oil, I'd put 3 drops. So that's how the dilution goes. If you're trying to be 1%, 1% is recommended for the elderly, pregnant women, and children. And there are some products that have been formulated for children, so maybe they're already diluted enough for you. But here is so every 5 mils, you get another drop. 1, 2, 3, right there, 1%. Essential oil. So here's like a little recipe, 15 ml bottle, fill with a carrier oil, add a drop. If you're going to do 3 drops, because you got 15 mils, so you get 3 drops. You can do 1 drop of 3 oils. You can do 3 drops of the same oil. Doesn't matter how you do those 3 drops. Shake it before you use it. And there you go. One of the most studied oils in pregnancy is lavender. It's great for skin. It's very calming. Most starter kits have lavender. Every starter kit I've ever seen has lavender. It's got an SPF of 4. So it's good for putting on before you go in the sun. It's not SPF of 30, but I mean, at least it has some protective ability. You could put it in a foot bath. You could put it just in a general bathtub. If you had some skin blemish, you take your diluted oil and spot treat it. You can give yourself a neck or a back massage at night to calm down. So here is a study on lavender cream with or without a foot bath on sleep quality and fatigue in pregnancy. So like I said, during pregnancy, you can use lavender. Here's another study on valerian and lavender. They decided that they just used cells and not people, but they said that they weren't toxic to the cells that they were looking at. And they were trying to propose how to treat emotions in pregnancy. Also for labor pain, lavender's calming, and they've done a couple of different studies on how it could help in labor. So like I said, if you just had lavender, you can get a lot done with just that one oil. But you also have peppermint. So peppermint is invigorating. It's refreshing when you breathe it. It helps with gastrointestinal system discomfort. So peppermint has some other benefits that we could take advantage of when we're pregnant, because a lot of people want to support their healthy bowel function when they're pregnant and want to support and not have gastrointestinal system discomfort. Here's a study on peppermint on nausea and vomiting of pregnancy. They put lemon and peppermint that was diluted on a cotton ball and inhaled it. And they felt that it decreased the nausea. Peppermint also was diluted and was used for itching. Some women do have itchy skin when the skin is stretching and sometimes it feels uncomfortable. So they used it for that. Lemon would be my third oil. So you got lavender, peppermint, lemon. Lemon alone was studied on pregnant women and used for nausea. They inhaled the lemon. 1 or 2 drops in a diffuser you could do. You put it on a cotton ball, add it to a glass of water and just sniff the water. But lemon and nausea is a thing. Here they did another study on lemon, grapefruit, and ginger and found that these herbs are known to be beneficial for lipids. There are also 3 herbs that are safe in pregnancy. And so we don't know the dose or how to use them for lipids, but it's going to be, I think one day we will know how to use these 3 things to lower cholesterol. Ginger. Now, ginger has been used a lot. There's a lot of products that are targeted to pregnant women that have ginger in them. And here's a couple of studies that I have posted about, is ginger safe? They've used it for nausea. So they've done a few studies on pregnant women and nausea and ginger, and they don't think that it has any adverse outcomes. So far, you've got lemon and ginger and peppermint that are good for nausea, which is a big complaint. Bergamot. Bergamot is what's found in Earl Grey tea. If you've ever had Earl Grey tea, bergamot is what they use to flavor that tea. So this is done in rats, not in people. So animal studies suggest that bergamot is safe. But of course, my top ones would be lavender, peppermint, lemon, and ginger. And with those 4, you can get a lot done. But bergamot, like I said, if you drink some Earl Grey tea or somehow we're using bergamot for some other reason, it does not seem to be harmful in animal studies. Petitgrain and bergamot, these are both citrus oils. They did a study in 2013, like what kind of physical and physiologic effects. So they did some lab studies and did a questionnaire on how the women felt in 2013. And they let them inhale lavender or petitgrain or bergamot, whichever one they wanted. So this is a study of bergamot in actual people now. And they did find that these were helpful to the women. So these 3 have been given to actual pregnant women and a study was published. Rose essential oil was used for pain. I already told you Cleopatra way back in the day was using rose, but you want to get a pure rose oil. A few drops of rose oil, they diluted it in a carrier oil and used it as a massage. Copaiba, this is a rat study. I don't have any pregnancy people studies for Copaiba, but it was used as a vaginal cream, but it's also something you can dilute with oil and rub on your body. And so Copaiba is another one that has been studied in animals, not people. Lemongrass is used in Brazilian folk medicine. So now there are some studies where they didn't really do a specific study to look at a thing, but they'll go to like Iran or Brazil or other places where people commonly use essential oils and say, hey, we found 100 pregnant women that have been using it and tracked the outcomes of their pregnancy, and it seemed okay. So lemongrass is one of those things where in Brazil they use it a lot, and when they followed the outcomes, it seemed to be okay. Also, they did a study in rats and it was okay in them too. In really high doses, they used it in rats and it did not have any toxic effects. Eucalyptus and ginger. So this is in Ethiopia. They questioned women and said, hey, what have you guys been using? Eucalyptus and ginger were two very popular things. No adverse outcomes. Frankincense. People in Iran use a lot of frankincense. And I think 28% of the people they questioned used frankincense, no adverse outcomes. This is not an oil, but in China, there's some, most of you have been to the store and you've seen something called goji berries. The scientific name is Lycium barbarum, but they're also known as Ningxia wolf berries. And these are like goji berries who come from a special province in China. And they call them special goji berries called Ningxia wolf berries. So there are a couple of studies on Ningxia wolf berries and pregnancy. One was done on women with gestational diabetes, and another one sort of tracked the outcome of offspring of rats. But at any rate, wolfberries are traditionally used in China for pregnancy. It's very common. They don't find a problem with it. But in this country, there's very few studies, but there are a couple. So that's good. So a lot of oils have been studied in labor. So many, we want to be careful. The earlier the pregnancy, the more careful we want to be about the different oils we expose ourselves to and how much oil we expose ourselves to. Some of them could stimulate the uterus, like these that are good for labor. Some are uterine stimulants, like jasmine and clary sage, because they provoke oxytocin, which is the hormone that is excreted when you go into labor. And some of them are just calming when you go into labor. Orange, geranium, and chamomile are calming. So like oranges for anxiety and labor from the first study. The second study, inhaling the aroma of geranium on anxiety. Onset of labor and postpartum by chamomile. So, I mean, like you read a lot about how chamomile is safe in pregnancy, but here they're using it to stimulate postpartum labor. So that didn't make my top 6, even though you'll read in other places that it's safe. I didn't find an early pregnancy study in actual women that made it to this slideshow. Ylang Ylang is generally recognized as safe, but there are no specific studies on Ylang Ylang and pregnancy. But in general, it's not a food ingredient that has been found to be problematic. So it's something that it's still not in my top 6, but it's been around for many years and nobody has found a problem with it. So my top 6, talk about frankincense because it was actually, it's used in certain populations without incident. Peppermint has a study. Grapefruit had a study. Lavender had a study in people. Ginger had a study in people. Lemon studied in people. Bergamot did have that people study, so that could be number 7, but really with these 6, you could get like a lot of stuff done. Frankincense and peppermint are good for you have discomfort and want to rub it on your back or your legs. You know, they're very calming and soothing. Grapefruit and lavender, people seem to be happy when they inhale those. Ginger is really good. You know, a lot of GI stuff. People drink ginger ale. There's a reason we do ginger ale. There's a reason it's ginger is in all of those supplements. So it's just really good for your gastrointestinal tract. And pregnant women have a lot of issues with that. So here we go. GI support, ginger, lemon, peppermint, calming, orange, valerian, lavender, petitgrain, bergamot, grapefruit. All these can be inhaled. Inflammation, rose, frankincense, peppermint, topical. Certain things are studied in rats, but we think they might be okay. Copaiba, lemon balm, Ylang Ylang, and lemongrass. And then for labor, different set of oils, which some can be used prior to labor, but some are exclusively studied in labor and don't use them prior to that. You can follow me on Facebook and Instagram or subscribe to my YouTube channel. I will follow up with more products, and there's going to be part 2 for specific product recommendations. And here's the video as a demonstration. Like this flower petals and lemons in some water, but you could use oils to do that because the flowers and the lemons could get kind of messy. And you can also reduce stress, drink plenty of water, but also use oils if you're having gastrointestinal issues, and change your products. Make your own deodorant, make your own fragrance. And thank you for listening to my talk. Please share it with your friends.